Hi there and welcome to the channel of A Disappointed Man with me, Jason Kennedy, the Disappointed Man. And in this video I'll outline my reading plans for January and I'll also show off my latest book haul. Now I know it's January the 1st, but it's not a public holiday here in Taiwan, and so I went out today and made my rounds of the used bookstores and I found so much treasure. I can't wait to share it with you. But first, let's look at my reading plans for this month. So we start off with Patrick Hamilton's The Slaves of Solitude, all marked up because it's going to be the next review, and I actually started my channel way back in May last year with a review of Hamilton's brilliant Hangover Square. This book is just as good and I can't wait to share it with you. He's one of my favourite writers. Next, Evelyn Waugh, The Loved One, very short. I was going to review this in December, but the subject matter concerns the funeral business and I thought it was rather inappropriate for the holiday season. I'll deal with it in January. Next we have Russell Hoban, Ridley Walker, and this will be the first sci-fi novel I've reviewed for the channel. And what makes this such a special book is the language. It's set some generations after a nuclear war has devastated the planet and humankind has been reduced to a very primitive state of existence, and the same is true of the English language being spoken by the characters here in a wasteland that once was Britain. And I think actually I'll just read you the opening paragraph to give you a flavour of this book. It goes like this. On my naming day, when I come 12, I gone front spear and kilt a wild boar. He probably been the last wild pig on the Bundle Downs. Anyhow, there hadn't been none for a long time before him, nor ain't looking to see none again. He didn't make the ground shake nor nothing like that when he come onto my spear. He weren't all that big, plus he looked poorly. He done the required. He turned and stood and clattered his teeth and made his rush, and there we were then, him on one end of the spear kicking his life out, and me on the other end watching him die. I said, your turn now, my turn later. The other spear's gone in then, and he were dead, and the steam coming up off him in the rain, and we all yell, off it! That's wonderful. It has its own unique poetry, and as you become accustomed to its rhythms and get into the story, it's a really satisfying read. Next up, by request, some viewers have asked me to tackle a work by George Gissing, and I've selected this, The Odd Women, his proto-feminist novel with the beautiful Perugini painting on the cover there. Then Thomas Bernhard. My plan is to tackle one of his fictions each month and make a deep video about it. I think it's eminently achievable because, as one viewer pointed out, most of his work is very short. This is only 100 pages or so. Wittgenstein's Nephew. If you want to get hold of a copy and read along with me, that would be wonderful. Lastly, we have Anna Letitia Barbauld. I keep saying I will make this poetry video about her wonderful 1811. I have to say, the poetry videos are probably the hardest ones to make. I'm still busy doing the necessary research and gathering the images, but Anna, I promise you, I will get round to it as soon as possible. Now let's have a look at my book haul from today. We start off with a slice of 18th century erotica. It is John Cleland, Fanny Hill, Memoirs of a Woman of Pleasure. Nigel Barley, The Innocent Anthropologist, a humorous take on doing fieldwork in Africa. Then from the Caribbean, Flickering Shadows. I'm not going to be able to say the name very well. Kwadwo, Agymah, Kamau. It's contemporary, I'll give it a try. This looks interesting. The Captivity of the Oatman Girls. It's a true account of the experiences of a family having been kidnapped by the Apache and then the Mojave Indians. It occurred in 1851. Then sci-fi, Strugatsky brothers, The Doomed City, best known for their Roadside Picnic, which was turned into the sci-fi classic Stalker by Tarkovsky. Then a writer I've already reviewed on the channel, it's Alberto Moravia and his The Conformist. I reviewed The Time of Indifference. It was excellent. Next up, non-fiction, That Sweet Enemy. It's a history of Anglo-French relations and it looks very interesting. Then this big book, the illustrated Robert Louis Stevenson, and there's the whole of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in here, and a bunch of other shorter pieces. I'm very excited to see just what's in there. Then Literary Theory, Mikhail Bakhtin, Rabelais and His World. Another French book, it's the Arsène Lupin Omnibus. He is a gentleman thief. I think he's well known now because there was that wonderful Netflix series recently, but he's in the mould of Sherlock Holmes and Raffles. I've got them in French already, and I've got some in English already, but this has more of them in English. Very exciting. Then Edith Wharton, The Age of Innocence. I reviewed her Roman Fever on the channel. I think that's review number 6. And finally, the biggest of the lot, it's this, a new history of French literature. I'm really excited about this because one of my projects this year is to try and learn as much as I can about French literature while also improving my French skills. Hopefully this book will help me. And there you have it. There are my plans. There's my book haul, and all that remains is for me to bid you farewell. So I will repeat my mantra. Be safe, be strong, and I shall see you anon. Nanu nanu.